Director, Carrie Gundersdorf. We are pleased to present this exhibition titled Proximity and Distance, a group show of 6 artists from around the country. This exhibition has been curated by Shona Macdonald. Shona Macdonald is a practicing artist and an art professor at the UMass Amherst Department of Art. I had the pleasure of meeting Shona and getting to observe her during her curating of this exhibition and got to learn a little bit about the process. She's joined us today. We'll give a brief curator talk about this exhibition and then we can have a Q&A afterwards.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming, and I wanted to thank Priya very much and for working with me at the very beginning of, I think it was the spring when we first started talking about doing a show, and then I want to thank Kathleen and Courtney and everyone else that's been, and yourself, your good self. I was looking for where you'd gone, for just being so amenable and helpful when I was here doing the install. So I'm not going to talk for long because I know it's hard to be kept a captive audience. So this show started off in my brain. Last year I was on sabbatical and I went to, I was out in Wyoming on an artist residency at a place called Ucross in the middle of nowhere actually. It's a beautiful part of the state called Sheridan, or near Sheridan. And I was reading a book called On Slowness, and I was just thinking about slowing down time and aspects of looking as it was related to artwork. And those ideas were just milling around in my head, and then I was still on sabbatical and I decided I think I want to put a show together, and decided to start assembling artists in my mind who would fit some of these ideas. So I'll just go through some of the work. Many of these artists I've known for a long time. Jin Lee, who is a photographer, her pieces are the 2 prairie pieces on the wall over there and the Great Lakes image here. I'll move out of the way, which is an image of Lake Michigan. So she's a photographer who was born in South Korea, and her family emigrated to LA when she was a child, and she grew up in Los Angeles and has lived in the Midwest for a long time now, probably 35 years. And I met her at Illinois State University when I was teaching there. And her work is so much about looking and perception, and where you're placed in relationship to natural forms. And so, for example, the Prairie series, if you look at these images, you can tell that you're kind of lying down in the grass with the photographer looking at these plants. The plants are taller than we are. But with the Great Lakes photograph, we're much further back. The series, the Prairie Grasses series, was a series where she photographed the prairie in Illinois over the span of an entire year. So we got to see the plants blooming in spring, coming into full force in the summer, dying back in the fall, and then being bare and sort of barren in the winter. So this very beautiful poetic idea of growth and rebirth. Carrie Gundersdorf, she's the artist that has the shells collage, and then these 2 watercolors based on pine cones. And her work has spanned everything from paintings of the night sky and stars to the opposite, which would be looking down at the ground and finding things like shells and cones and then making images of those. And in this case, she zooms right into the pine cone so that the actual form of the pine cone disappears and you're just left with the texture and patterning of the pine cone. So these other different forms of looking and interacting with natural, natural forms. And Pete Schulte's work, he has the 3 very sort of dusty atmospheric drawings on this wall. And his work, it's a really fascinating imagery because it never pins itself down to anything. There's always references to the figure, architecture, ancient symbols, But it sort of always manages to sort of skip aside from pinning itself to a reference. So when you're looking at his work, there's always this feeling of sort of the uncanny of recognizing forms and recognizing things, but then they sort of slip away from you in a way that makes them very mysterious. And that, coupled with how they're done with this very painstaking, careful, sort of just very gentle sort of brushing of the paper with pigment and graphite. So you put those two things together and you get these very mysterious, mystical drawings that have this sort of timeless imagery, very much about looking in space. Namwon's work, Namwon Choi, she's the artist that I know the least about, but I was very attracted to her work for this show for a couple of reasons. One is it was this really loud blast of color that I thought would be really great, because some of the work is a bit more quiet. But obviously with this piece, the box-like image on the wall over here, these are paintings that she's done from outside the windshield of her car. Again, with this painstaking way of making the image, of delivering the material to the surface to make the image come to the fore. And obviously because so much of our seeing now is either through the windscreen of a car or through the lens of a phone. Her work, talks about really different types of vision, and how our seeing of things is always framed either through a window or a screen, whatever it might be. And then the only piece in the show that's really sculptural is the ball piece right over here, where she takes the sky imagery and wraps it around, this spherical form that references a globe, references a planet, and I think really plays off very well with the two-dimensional image, but also the images by Bill Conger over here, which are these Tondo paintings that he interestingly has jutted out from the wall. And in my conversations with Bill over the years of doing these works, these are, I think, a year or so old, this series, Fleur de Mal. And he's very interested in sort of pushing the boundaries of painting, wanting to work with paint and the surface of canvas, but by jutting the painting out closer to us and making them round, they're sort of questioning the sort of meaning of painting while still being painting. And the kind of very foggy, speckled, sort of mottled nature of them has references to things like landscape and skin, which I think play off of some of the other work in the room, particularly Jin's work. And then the last artist in the room is my colleague Youngmin Moon, whose work goes from this piece here all the way to the bowing figure here. And his work was actually he was one of the first artists that came to mind when I put this show together, because he's my direct colleague and I've been following his work for years. And he did a whole series of these bowing figures based on a traditional South Korean custom of bowing. And then from there, from the figurative images, he then moved to the offering table images, where it's as though what the figure was bowing in front of is revealed. So the figure went away and the table became part of the image. And then as his work came on, this is an earlier one here, and as his work became more recent, then we zoomed into the table, the food on the table itself. So it's as though his work has sort of gone from the figure looking down to the figure looking at the table to the actual contents of the table. And it's a way of seeing how an artist evolves over time, but very slowly and incrementally, because one of the things that's significant about his work is the series and repetition. And I think you can see that actually in all of the artists' work here tonight, that that they are working on an idea and kind of digging down into it by repeating it. It's a way of really trying to understand what they're really trying to do. So that's the show in a nutshell. I'm really happy. It's a very small crowd. I'm really happy to take questions. I can also talk about the materials that the artist used, if anyone has questions about any of those things. So please fire away. Yes.
So one that made all those shells, the ones with the carbonated shells, how long did it take? Do you know how long it took them to collect every shell, or what's the meaning of each shell?
I don't know how long it took Carrie. So the question was about time of compiling the collage imagery. I don't know, but I do know that Carrie collects old encyclopedias, old, books from thrift stores and on beach combing and things like that. She's also from the state of Maine, which has a lot of beaches. So I think that some of that plays into this as well. But I think probably years would be the answer, that she's had this material and collected it, but to make the actual collages, I'm not certain how long that would have taken. But thank you for asking. Any other questions from anyone? Yeah.
The ones that are on that far side, what are the materials that were made of?
Oh, these ones.
Yeah.
So these are Pete Schulte's drawings. So these are made with graphite and pigment, which is chalk pastel, and ink. But it's, the way that he works is so meticulous that it's sort of, you can't really see.
Yeah, I couldn't tell when I was
right.
Like, is it ink?
Right, and that's what's so wonderful. One of the things that's so wonderful about them is that they sort of transcend their materials, because you can't really see how he, I've often looked at his work and tried to see the pencil marks, and I can't see them. They're so sort of dusty and sooty, but yes, just regular pencil and paper.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm not certain you can answer this question, and it may be an odd question, but as someone who's trying to learn to draw and observation, the last two paintings, the candlestick is crooked. So, I'm wondering what I myself would do in that situation. Was the candlestick crooked, and he just observed it?
I think yes, because when you have a tall candle holder and then a wax candle, oftentimes they tilt. But I think another reason is that the other reason I'm saying that is that as an artist,
the candlestick is crooked, though.
Sorry?
The candlestick is crooked.
Right, but I guess my response to that would be that every single artist in this gallery knows what they're doing and controls everything, so it was intentional. I don't know what was the intention, but maybe it was a metaphor for, the candle being a light. Maybe there's a metaphor there that, the light isn't, we can't trust it. We can't trust this light, that it's bending over, it's tilting. So that would be my guess, but I've never asked Youngmin directly about that.
The other one, it's straight, so unless...
I'll have to run it by him when I see him.
Because
Yeah.
my brain noticed that right away.
And it's there. It's part of the painting, so you're right to notice it. It's not a fault to notice it. So I think, but I think trusting the artist's intention and maybe trying to work out what would they mean by that, and coming up with because there's no description to tell us.
I know. How will I know if you get an answer?
I will email Kathleen.
Okay.
What's your name?
Cynthia.
Cynthia, are you
I'm a senior student.
Okay, so I'll ask Youngmin and then email the answer to Kathleen.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay. So it's the second painting from the left.
Do you know which order each of these were painted on?
No, I just know that this is the earlier series where we're further away from the table. And then these are, I believe they're all, I don't have the sheet with me, but I believe they're all 2021. that right? Or 2020? These three here. Oh, it doesn't say the date. I think it's 2021. These were all done around about the same time. And they were also, I believe they were painted when Youngmin was back in Korea for a while. Yeah. But this one is an earlier one here. Great questions, everyone. Anything else? Oh, yeah. Hi.
What kind of oil paint was used for the red on the tables over there?
The color?
Yes.
I think alizarin crimson, but I'm not certain. Maybe alizarin crimson with Venetian red, maybe. I'm just saying that because...
Very beautiful.
Yeah, it is very luminous. So I think I'll ask him that too, but I think probably alizarin crimson and Venetian red. Yeah. Hi.
As a born and raised in South Korea, I'm very familiar with those rituals because this actually happened for now, for the Lunar New Year and as well as...
Oh, it's right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the color is exactly the same. Like we have
The color of the table?
Yeah, table with this color, and then this place is somewhat different by different family, but I feel a shock. Oh my God, I'm familiar with this, but I have never seen any art depicting this kind of ritual.
I'm so happy that you're here tonight. I'll tell him. I believe that, you might want to correct me if this is wrong, but Jesu, is that the name of the... Jesa is the ritual of the bowing.
Yes.
And is it also the name of the offering of the food?
Yeah.
It's all Jesa.
All ritual is same.
I see. Okay. I didn't want to say that earlier because I couldn't remember if it was Jessa or Jesso, but Jessa. Yeah. So I'll tell Youngmin that you said that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I
Yeah.
was going to say that it is refreshing not to have titles, but more importantly, not to have numbers.
I said no to the numbers.
If you have numbers, then we kind of get fixated, well, this is a number to something, and where is the list? So it was really inviting just to be able to observe and really look at the work.
Thanks for saying that. I had the choice, and I X'd the numbers.
It's a little gratifying.
Well, for the very same reason, and I'm also very opposed to large captions on walls, and because over the years I've looked at people looking at work, and what they do is they go up and read the caption, and then they take their phone out and take a picture of the image, and then they walk away. And so they're not really looking at the work. And I think in this setting where there's no captions, you have to confront the work. So I really appreciate you saying that. It was very intentional. Yeah.
Well, I did want to know what medium was used, so...
What medium?
Yes, but you had to...
Yeah,
You had to peek at the...
Right.
Oh, for these are oil on canvas.
Yeah, but for everything...
Oh, everything else? Oh.
Surprised me, the watercolor.
Yeah. Because it's used quite opaque, in an opaque way, yeah. Well, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming, everyone. Thank you.